Yeah, my phone just bugged out on me, man. My phone just bugs out from time to time. Like, I'm not doing this. Blah, So, anyway, here I am again, talking about movies. Man, I think the backstory in my movie would be, like, important. The mob implications, you know. Because back in the 70s, man, now, a lot of people, revere the New York mob. They write about movies about the Detroit mob. I mean, the New York mob. But it was really the Detroit mob that put the mob on the map, because it was the Detroit mob who first started squeezing the UAW for millions of dollars, and it was the Detroit mob who bankrolled Vegas. They don't get a lot of credit for that, and probably didn't want a lot of credit for it. But it was the Detroit mob that was the muscle, for the whole country. So, like, whenever, like the mob in Vegas or the mob in New York needed somebody wiped out, they called the Detroit mob. Hey, man, send some shooters down here, and that was what the Detroit mob was known for, being shooters. So anyway, the mob implications. I was arrested for the murder of Gerald Sipatowski, Officer Gerald Sipatowski, who was a police officer. And that was a mob hit, and the hit was witnessed by his partner. His partner saw the whole thing unfold, testified in three of my trials, I think, that he, was an eyewitness. Like that. I saw this unfold right before my eyes. I don't care what you talking about. This is what happened. This white Mark IV pulled up, and the guy shot my partner. And I watched him get shot. I watched him fall. And I had a mob lawyer. So the mob lawyer, he was like, what's the magician's name out there? The brother, man, they go around the country doing magic acts. What's his name? I forget his name, man. I like this cat too. Anyway, my lawyer was like him, because he made the jury. No, let me take you back a little bit. Then you'll understand what I'm saying. First trial, if they expected me to plead guilty, I didn't, wouldn't. He was coming to me with my lawyer was coming to me with deals that was, ridiculous and incredible. And he came to me one time, he said, hey, man, we offering you 10 years, man. And so I went back to the Rock, and the old school guy said, hey, man, did you commit the crime? I said, nah, I didn't. He said, then you shouldn't take the cop. Not only should you not take the cop, but the fact that your lawyer is bringing you a 10-year deal on the murder of a police officer means they got a real weak case. So we go to trial, first trial. One guy didn't want to find me not guilty. One brother. So I had a hung jury, 11-1. So the prosecutor was able to evaluate how they did things. So we have a second trial. And halfway through the second trial, prosecutor realized that this jury was going to find me not guilty. So they asked for a mistrial. My lawyer agreed. I was like, well, we doing good. What you mean? Mistrial. Anyway, mistrial. Bam. So we have a third jury trial. So during the third jury trial, my lawyer got up and argued to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, originally it was 4 blacks that committed this crime, but it's only one here on trial. And the other 3 are just as guilty as my client. And he shouldn't be the only one to go to prison for something they all conspired to do together. Right. Had never made these arguments in the other 2 trials. So that, coupled with the judge instructing the jury to find me guilty, and the prosecutor arguing that I was guilty, jury found me guilty. So I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So now this is where things get even more interesting, because I got a mob lawyer that's representing me that's one of the worst representations in the world. So on appeal, I get this cat named Raymond Miller. So I go and do a little research on Raymond Miller. Raymond Miller had been an appeals attorney for like 30 some years and had never won a case. Never won a case on appeal. Never, not one, you know. And I was like, man, why they give me this bum, you know? So tried to fire him. The judge wouldn't let me fire him, you know. So needless to say, my appeal of right, which is really the only appeal that you have, you know, to really exercise all your rights, you know, I got denied on my appeal of right. It's like 1981. So now, around the same time that this is happening, there is a cadre of judges on the Michigan Court of Appeals that are taking bribes. So, you know, for $20,000, you know, you get a reversal. And if you don't have $20,000 to pay, you don't get a reversal, you know. So, you know, you can look it up. This guy named Jerome Bronson, he killed himself. It's all facts. You can check this out. You know, he couldn't work by himself. There's no way. See, you have a 3-judge panel on the Court of Appeals. So in order for somebody to guarantee you that you're going to get a favorable decision, there has to be another judge involved. You know, because you have to have at least 2 judges voting for you in order to win. You know, so that meant that, you know, for all the cases that he was on, it was a bunch of different judges. You know what I'm saying? He's taking money in quite a few cases. And so that means there was some other judges that wanted to take too. So what he did was he conveniently blew his brains out, or somebody made it look like he blew his brains out before he could blow the whistle on all the other judges. You know, anyways, so he ended up dead. So I say that to say that having the worst appellate attorney in the state, and at the same time having a court of appeals that's for sale, you know, made it impossible for me on that first run to get any relief. You know, so you know, when you go to the Supreme Court, you only get one lawyer and you get one really bite at the apple, one shot. And if you fail on that shot, you know, for most people, they just give up, throw their hands up, and they do the bit. Well, for me, I got a job in the law library, and I started researching the law, studying, learning how to type, learning how to read and write, and going to college at the same time. And I started writing my own briefs, drafting my own briefs. So I was able to file in the Michigan Supreme Court, get denied. File in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, get denied. File in the United States Court of Appeals for the 6th Circuit, get denied. File in the United States Supreme Court, certiorari, get denied. And then go right back down to the trial court all over again. I must have did that like about 10 times, you know. And so I would find new issues, or I would, you know, re-rock issues, and I would go study the law. And so, yeah, this is the law. This is how it's supposed to be. And I would file it. And a few times I got some action. One time I got a reversal and a remand for an evidentiary hearing. When I went down there for the evidentiary hearing, I had this black judge named Edward Thomas, who was like Clarence Thomas. So he did everything he could. He wouldn't give me an attorney. Just everything he could, you know, to just screw me in every way that he could. So that evidentiary hearing was based on missing witnesses. It was a bunch of witnesses that should have testified at the trial that didn't. And so the witnesses came in, they got on the stand, they testified. And from the testimony, I should have got a new trial. So what the judge decided to do was to not only not give me a new trial, But he made it seem like I had never even filed anything. He never denied the motion, never granted the motion, and never did nothing. So I'm stuck in purgatory. I'm waiting on this judge to issue a ruling. No ruling is coming. So I filed for the transcripts of the evidentiary hearing. No transcripts. No such hearing has ever been held. Yeah, this is how it went down. So anyway, for 10 years, I fight this about this transcript. And after 10 years, I get a court or a judge somewhere to say, yeah, it was an evidentiary hearing. You keep talking about this evidentiary hearing. I know it had to be one. So he forced them to get the transcript. This 10 years later. So I get the transcript. They send me the transcript. Here's this transcript from that hearing. I'm like, damn, this is 10 years old, So I go to the Court of Appeals and I argue. I finally got a copy of this 10-year-old transcript that everybody kept saying didn't exist. And these are the issues. So I filed the appeal. So, yeah, you should have raised this on your appeal of right. Yeah, they're good issues. Yeah, you should have got a reversal, all that. But we're not going to give you any relief on this because this transcript is stale. And we don't even know if it's really a real